Hello friends, how are you this morning? I am here with a book haul. If you watched my last vlog, you probably know what to expect here, but if you're just clicking on this for the first time, this is my top 5 foundations of yoga texts. So these are all actually books that are required as part of my yoga teacher training right now. And I've also seen them on other lists from other yoga schools. So I know that they're kind of like go-tos in the yoga world when it comes to teacher trainings. But I also came across a bunch of these before I started teacher training. Like if you just start Google searching yoga books, best yoga books, if you go onto Goodreads and look for text that way, these titles do come up on a lot of them. So I kind of just cherry picked my favorites, and without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start. Alright, so first off, we have The Royal Path. This is by Swami Rama. Actually, in my teacher training, we are going through at least 4 of his texts, but this one I chose for my top 5 because this was something that our program director at teacher training, he wanted us to read before the training even started. So this was kind of like his urging. And as you can see, it's very small. You can get through it in one sitting for sure. It has less than 150 pages. What I really like about the Royal Path is that it breaks down the 8 limbs of yoga in a very, very digestible format. So the chapters are what is yoga, yama and niyama, asanas, which are the physical poses, pranayama, which is your breathing, a few glimpses of concentration, the mind and its analysis, what is meditation, and then finally samadhi. So limb for limb, it goes through the elements of yoga. They have, I really like that when they get to the asana part, it talks about it from the historical perspective, which is kind of different than how we know asana. But it does give you like modern instruction, and it shows you pictures. So if you have no experience with asana and you're looking for like beginner's poses, well, these are obviously not beginner poses, but like if you want just like a good run through of different poses to go after, they give you this. What else? I don't know, I just really like how this was written. I wish this is something that I had read like 2 years ago, when I was reading some of these other books that we're going to talk about, and they were like totally going over my head, like knew nothing of what was going on, and I just like wasn't mentally there either. But this definitely makes it like easy to understand, easy to really like grasp the concepts behind yoga, because it isn't just asana, it isn't just breathing. There's meditation, and there's a lot of history there in terms of like the philosophy elements. And if you're spiritual on any level, like that is very much yoga. But yeah, this just makes it easier to understand, I guess. And it does make reference directly to the bigger ideas in some of these books. So I don't know, I could go on a tangent just about that, but that's my first pick. Especially if you don't like to read, get this guy, because you'll get through it in like 1 or 2 sittings. The next one, kind of polar opposite of the Royal Path, is the Yoga Bible, Light on Yoga. This is by BKS Iyengar. He is one of like the modern greats. I think he only recently passed away. But Light on Yoga, I actually was introduced to just about 2 years ago when I registered for an Iyengar course. I did 16 weeks of just level 1 and 2 Iyengar. And basically the focus of Iyengar yoga is alignment. So a lot of times you're holding the poses for a very long time. In the course I took, it was yoga's like this in general, but it was very much like, today our pose is bridge pose, and all we're going to do is variations of bridge pose and other poses that help us get to bridge pose and work the same muscle groups. So in a 90-minute class, you may, of course you do like your warming up and your shavasana and everything, but you are only doing maybe 5 poses the entire class. It's very focused. But light on yoga, in that same respect, really just breaks down each pose to like its finest elements. They give you step-by-step technique, exactly how to perform the pose. My one gripe is that they don't really give, there's sometimes modifications in here, but for me, if you're like a very much like a beginner, um, it's a little bit overwhelming and a little bit intimidating, especially because Iyengar himself can do each pose like to its max. Like, look how flexible he is. So looking at the poses with him doing them, it's a little bit intimidating. So that's my only gripe, is like, you have to know how to interpret his level of expertise and apply it to your own practice. But what I love about this, number one, every pose is in here. And number two, he does give you a good little intro to yoga as a whole, like the 8 limbs and all that good stuff. But he has at the end a couple of appendici, what's the plural of that word? Anyway, there are 2 of them, Appendix 1 and Appendix 2, and they give you different sequences. So the first appendix, it just goes like a calendar, basically. Here's week 1. Here's how you do your sequences day by day. Week 2, these are the poses you should move on to. Here's your sequences day by day. He literally goes up to like 200 weeks. So if you want step-by-step instructions, which poses do I do on each given day of the week, Light on Yoga's got your back. The second appendix is the one I really like, which is giving you different poses according to whatever ailment or condition you're trying to counteract. I personally, and I don't know if I've talked about this on this channel too much, but one of my goals after getting my 200 hours, obviously, is to begin to teach. But I would love to eventually do yoga therapy one-on-one with people. So whether they're coming to me to practice yoga because of an injury, maybe they have arthritis, maybe they're dealing with addiction, or they have a mental health concern. I want to work one-on-one with people and do therapy through yoga. So this particular section is really neat to me because they have yoga sequences for literally everything. I just turned the page randomly to flatulence. So they got you when it comes to that, diabetes, displacement of spinal discs, chest, if you have a cold, anything you can possibly think of. They have yoga sequences for you here. So yeah, this is just a great reference book to anyone doing yoga on a serious level. Definitely anybody who is thinking of teaching. It's just got everything. Again, it can be at times overwhelming, but I think overall it's a great reference. All right, so now we have the Bhagavad Gita. This translation, and I'm sorry that this looks like this, the plastic covering from the library is a little bit trash for what I'm doing here. So this translation's by Stephen Mitchell. I personally really liked it. This is the first time I've actually read the Gita. Go figure, I went to university, got an English degree, and at no point did I have to read this. But it is a very spiritual text, so I guess I get why it's not super widely read, I guess. And I dealt with more, like, modern literature, American literature. Anyway, different story. I frickin' fell in love with this and did not expect to. Like I said, it is a very spiritual text. I wouldn't say it's got, like, any sort of bent. I think you could read it as a Christian. I think you could read it if you're more into Buddhism, Hinduism, any other type of ism. Or even if you're just generally spiritual, which is more of what I would consider myself. This kind of covers it all. And I am definitely like a former, like, snotty atheist, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. And since discovering yoga and meditation and all those things, that's definitely changed. But like this, yeah, this was a good one. I really got into this. I read this like multiple times right away. I've taken a bunch of notes on it because I just like really kind of connected with it. This is a book I would recommend even if you're not into yoga. It's just like it's a good one. So, this is often referenced in the other books that I'm going to talk about today. When going through and sitting in for lectures with my yoga teacher training, the Gita is referenced all the time. There's a ton of different translations, like I said. So this is just one. I have so much to say about it, but then I also don't know how to put it into words because I just connected with it on a very personal level. So that's all I'll say about this. It's really easy, another quick read, less than 200 pages, and because it's a poem, I mean, there's not much on every page. That's why I was able to get through it a bunch. Summarizing it real quick, for lack of anything else, because like I said, it was very personal, so I could go on a tangent about each of these books on their own, as you can probably tell, but the general outline of the Bhagavad Gita is it takes place before battle. This was written, I think, in like 500 BC, so it's older. And Arjuna is a warrior, and he calls upon Krishna, which is the divine or God, whatever you want to call it, to ask, like, why am I about to go to war? Why should I be killing these people who are my friends and in some instances my family? Like, how does this even make me, like, what does great warrior even mean? Because I'm about to just go kill people. Like, isn't that cowardly? It's like this whole thing. And essentially it answers the question of, like, what is even life? Like, what is life? So yeah, that's why I say it's like for everybody, because it is just like the age-old question, and it's discussed here. So get your hands on a copy of this, I would say, for sure, if you're into anything yoga, anything spiritual, anything at all like that. Alright, so then we have the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This is by Swami Satchidananda, this particular translation. Okay, so my history with the Yoga Sutras. When I was like getting deep into yoga again 2 years ago, starting all my research and reading and practicing all the time and just really like diving headfirst into yoga, any podcast I listened to, any interview, any like yoga teachers that I admired, any books I read, they literally all referenced the Yoga Sutras and Patanjali in general. So I was like, oh, I gotta get my hands on a copy of this. Great. And got a copy from the library. I don't even think I like had a specific preference for like what translation it was. It definitely wasn't this one. Brought it to work, and within like 20 minutes I was like, I can't do it. It's just, I'm not connecting with it. I didn't understand it. Like, I just wasn't having it. And the sutras are essentially just scriptures of yoga. So I want to say there's close to 200 of them. And so like this particular one I am really liking so far because I really like the commentary from Swami Satchidananda. He does like little parables and gives real life examples and illustrations so that you can understand each sutra. And I think that's what the translation I originally read was missing. Not only that, I just don't think I was at that point in my yoga journey to even, like, comprehend half of that stuff. So, like, they go through each one. Again, I'm just opening randomly. They give you the Sanskrit, how to say it in Sanskrit, here's your translation, and then in English. So, like, this one that I just opened up to, this is book 1, which is the portion on contemplation. It's in 4 different books overall. So book 1, this is Sutra 15, the consciousness of self-mastery and one who is free from craving from objects seen or heard is about non-attachment. So that's the sutra. And then where Swami comes in is, like I said, he goes on to explain exactly what it means, how you can apply it in your daily life, where we have seen it before, if there's like a detail or another scripture that references this idea, he will list those. So now that I have this particular translation, and the fact that I do like understand more about yoga in general, I'm at a different spot in my journey. I think all of those things contribute to me getting more out of this now. From my understanding of the sutras, this is like a lifelong yoga text. It's not even meant to be read like cover to cover. It's more a traditional scripture in the sense that like you read a line, you connect with it, you think about it, you meditate upon it, you practice it in your day-to-day, and you can refer to this like throughout your entire life. Like this is not something, and you absorb more of it every time you come in contact with it. So this is one of those like a must, but in a different way. This is more of like your actual study of yoga. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how like when I saw this on my required reading list and saw that it was on basically every yoga teacher training's syllabus, I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know, because I just like, it didn't sit right with me the first time, and it just kind of like went straight over my head. So I don't know. It's interesting that now I'm like really starting to enjoy it and understanding like why it's important to yoga. So yeah, I don't know. That's the Yoga Sutras. Last book on the list, I find useful in the same way that I find Light on Yoga useful, because it's such, it has such specificity when it comes to like breaking down the poses. So this is Hatha Yoga Illustrated. This is almost better for poses than Light on Yoga. I'm a nerd and a bookworm, so like I like to dig into things like Light on Yoga where it really gets like deep and complex with each pose. But this is like great for just like anyone that practices yoga. It gives you the same information as Light on Yoga, but a much more simple presentation of it, I guess. So they have the poses really like broken down piece by piece. So it doesn't just show you like your goal at the end. It shows you exactly how to get into the pose. It lists modifications and variations. So like the gentler versions, or like they'll bring up if you have injury, what you need to do, exactly where you put each part of your body. And then it has the English, the Sanskrit, it has the counter poses, it has the physical benefits, the mental benefits, all that good stuff. So this is great. This is actually what we're using for yoga teacher training when we get into the asana. Light on Yoga is actually, it's a required reading for the course, but we won't use it in the Sunday classes. Ooh, that coffee, you guys. Yeah, so like there's not any time that I will go to physical training and like read from Light on Yoga. It's literally just for our personal reference. We're expected to know what's in it and like use it when it's referenced in other texts, but there's no like, I won't be tested on it. I won't, when we study asana for the course, we're not using that book. We are using Hatha Yoga Illustrated. So yeah, that's my fifth pick. I'm trying to think. I haven't really actually gotten deep into this, but I do like how simple it is. And like, even for someone who has really been pretty familiarized with all these poses, it's nice to, for somebody like me who's going into the position of teaching and looking at it from like an instruction level, I like how simple yet detailed this is. So this is really great, I think, for everybody, because whether you're new to a pose, you want to learn more about proper alignment, this is just like a quick, easy snapshot way to get that information. So yeah, I've gone through all 5 books. Let me know if you guys agree, if there's anything you have questions about. If you go to posersclub.blogspot.com, I will have links to all of these books, so if you want to buy them, I'll give you guys the links for that. And let me know if you want me to do another book haul. This is 5 books out of my training, but I have many more that I'm required to read. So if you want me to do like a part 2, let me know. I was kind of thinking about that down the line. And the other thing is, at some point, I want to do a book haul and it just be my favorite yoga books, or maybe do a series. So like each time I'll talk about one particular book, but I kind of want to do like my personal faves too, because even though I love all of these, there's a lot of books that like have come out in the past few years that I came across like just in my initial studies of the practice. So there's certain ones I want to talk about that have nothing to do with teacher training. So let me know if you have any suggestions for that. And I think that's it. I'm going to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you soon, and have a great week.